Hello everyone, welcome back to Think Turkey. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about UAE and Turkey. Which country is more suitable for real estate investment? Let's dive into it. So we're going to be looking at many different factors in this video, and we're going to compare these two countries based on these factors. Number one is weather. So if you have ever been to the Middle East, Gulf countries like Saudi, UAE, Oman, Qatar, you'll notice that in the summertime, it's quite hot. Winters are pleasant, are nice. But in the summer, you can't really do outdoor things. It's unbearably hot, even in the evenings, at night, even it can get very humid, especially in June, July, August, September. So starting from October, it starts to get a bit more pleasant. So October to roughly March is what you have available to enjoy outdoors. After that, it starts to get really hot. So that is the weather in UAE. Now in Turkey, you're looking at winter months, which can be very cold in certain regions, and most of the regions except for the southern belt, the southern coast. So the southern coast is basically the Mediterranean coast. So you've got like Izmir, Kuşadası, Fethiye, going down to Kaş, Kalkan, Kemer, Antalya, Alanya, and then Mersin, and then Hatay, and those cities are getting even very hot actually. But Adana and stuff like that, they're known to be extremely hot. So, but these are the warmer climate. It does get pretty hot, but of course, it's not as hot as countries in the Gulf. So this point, I would say, goes to Turkey because you have 4 different seasons. You have extremely pleasant weather. If you like wintertime weather as well, you can enjoy that. So definitely, I would say the weather point would go to Turkey. Number 2 is people. So people, how friendly they are, how welcoming they are, the culture, and so on. So when we take a look at Turkey, you've got, generally speaking, they are very friendly and welcoming. In very large cities, specifically Istanbul, again, there are cases of, issues with foreigners coming in. Sometimes you do feel that, especially if you are from Middle Eastern Arabic background. There are some, reported issues of, adverse feelings towards these nationalities. But overall, if you are just, generally speaking, it's pretty decent. Recently it has gotten a bit bad, but overall it's pretty okay. In UAE, on the other hand, the population itself is very less of the locals, so you won't really have a chance to really interact that much. Mainly you're seeing expats all around. So overall, the people environment in UAE is quite pleasant. It's quite nice, good service, good people. Generally speaking, so overall, that's fine. I would say this is a draw for both countries. Number 3 is language. So language is an issue in Turkey, not in UAE. In UAE, we know, like, you go to UAE, everybody speaks English. It's easily, you can read the signs and you can communicate, and everyone happens to know English there. In Turkey, on the other hand, it has improved, to be honest. Since I first got there, 2013, and now there has been an incredible improvement, and I've said this time and time again to the locals whenever I notice that they're speaking well, the shopkeepers, the taxi drivers, and I've noticed an incredible improvement over the years. But of course, for people just coming in brand new, still I have heard complaints that, hey, we get into the airport and nobody speaks English, which is not exactly true. But again, they'd have experienced where at times they wouldn't be able to find an English-speaking person to get help from. So the language point, I would say, goes to UAE, but at the same time, I would encourage people, those that are looking to move to Turkey, and the Turkish language is quite easy to learn because, first of all, the letters are in English. You read it exactly the way it's written, so it's, even if you're like a second language learner of English, you can understand certain words are not exactly pronounced the way they're written. So in Turkish, there's no confusion about that. So you can learn to read very easily. Writing essentially is in English. The letters are English, Latin letters. And the grammar is very, very easy. I can literally teach the grammar to you in within 5-10 minutes, the entire basic grammar, which you need 4 tenses: past, present, future, and basically you just need 3: past, future, and present continuous tense. Sorry. So that's 4 major tenses, and you are good to go. So this point goes to UAE for language. Before moving on to the next point, I just want to ask you guys, if you're finding this content useful, please don't forget to hit the like button. Also, do subscribe to the channel. If you're finding this kind of content useful, please subscribe, hit the bell notification, and for that way you can get notified whenever I post new videos. Thank you. Moving on. Number 4 is income. So income is divided mainly, we're going to divide this into jobs and business opportunities. So when it comes to jobs, UAE is the natural choice here. They've got major opportunities, huge companies set up there, headquartered there. Usually the MENA office, which is the Middle East, North Africa offices, headquarters are for all major, most of the major companies are based in Dubai. So that point, and now we're seeing lots of job, like it has been going on, but especially now, lots of job opportunities are coming up in Dubai. Turkey, on the other hand, the major issue of Turkey is that language barrier. So if you don't know Turkish, you're basically, it's pretty much impossible to get a job. Very few opportunities. So basically, if you're an English teacher, English language instructor, high school teacher, primary school, any kind of teacher, yes, that English becomes your superpower. If you have teaching experience, teaching certifications, and if you are a good English speaker or even a native English speaker, then definitely your opportunities open up like really wide. So that's really good. But other than that, you might have opportunities as a maybe import-export department of certain companies. But again, you need to know Turkish because the other employees don't know Turkish. So you need to have some level, some command of Turkish to even get a job there. So in terms of jobs, definitely UAE takes the lead here. UAE has more opportunities. Let's say Turkey, I would pretty much has 0 opportunities apart from teaching. When it comes to business, on the other hand, now here we've got sort of a fair playing ground for both countries because UAE also has business opportunities because there's lots of people living there. They have good disposable income. They have money to spend, essentially. So if you're going to open up a store, if you're going to open up a cafe, open up a practice, consulting practice, tech company, whatever it is, people have money to spend. Many other companies are there, so you can serve them as well. It also has the business laws are favorable. Now they have created some business licenses that you can get with quite reasonably for reasonable cost, and you have to pay yearly. Of course, the business cost is much higher than Turkey, easily. I would say maybe 75% higher, but. But in UAE, you've got more in terms of, just servicing the people there, the businesses there. There is definitely a good opportunity. What about Turkey? Does it have any business opportunity? Yes, when it comes to business, it does. But in what way, you have to be careful, because if you're talking about the local people, the local economy, there is not much opportunity that much unless you have some sort of business that can, make income from scale, which you are making small profits, small and you are servicing many people, right? So that kind of for a solution, yes, it can be like, it can be like a tech company, like a delivery company, or e-commerce, something like that, which you are making really a lot of transactions. Yes, in that case, because the population is going through a lot right now. As you know, the currency issues are happening, the inflation is really high, so that is, the local public is suffering from that, the working class. But businessmen who are producing things, this is where it's becoming different. The business people, the locals and foreigners who have set up shop there to do business, manufacturing mainly. So if you're manufacturing products there, right? So whether it's abayas, scarves, leather goods, or bags, furniture, anything, any kind of product that you're producing, that is then being sold outside the country. Ideally, right? That's the main goal. If it's being sold outside, exported outside, in Europe, in Africa, in North America. So Europe is very near. Africa also is near, right? So these routes are quite near to them. Russia, Ukraine, Russia. These countries are all very accessible to Turkey. On the other hand, is the Central Asian countries as well, which are reasonably close. So North America is again reachable as well, but it's very similar to like China, but you're competing with that. But you've got good talented people that have good quality of work is there, stable electricity, stable, these kind of situations are there. So for this kind of work, I would definitely say Turkey would take the win here in this case for these sort of businesses, versus in UAE, it's more favorable to do it in Turkey. Number 5, moving on to healthcare. So in healthcare, there are mainly two types of healthcare options that you have. So you have public healthcare and private healthcare. So when it comes to public healthcare in Turkey, if you have a job, like not a cash job, I'm talking like a legal job. You're working, let's say, as an instructor or a consultant or something for a company, and they have, gotten you a work permit and everything. Then you are entitled to get the insurance as well, public health insurance, which is SGK. And with this insurance, you can basically access to any public hospital. So all public clinics, hospitals are all accessible to you, free of cost. So this is the advantage of having, having this insurance. You can also buy this insurance with your own money, and the rates are changing. So you can look up the rates as well. And this is one really good option when it comes to healthcare in Turkey. Private healthcare is also affordable. It's not like other countries where you're paying like thousands, tens of thousands, and hundreds of thousands of dollars. Here in Turkey, it's very, very accessible healthcare, and you get very high level of treatment, great doctors, renowned doctors. People come here from all around the world for surgeries, and the hair transplant is very common, as you know. Their LASIK eye surgery, dental work, all sorts of these procedures, and normal health, like related serious health problems. The health tourism is a big sector in Turkey. So in terms of healthcare, UAE has amazing healthcare, definitely great doctors, great hospitals. But the only thing is it's private. It's a private healthcare system. So you have to get the insurance. A private insurance is very expensive if you are living there if your employer is not. If you have a job, your company pays for it, great. Otherwise, you're paying considerable amount. Like you're paying 15,000 reals up to 30,000 reals a year. Like you're looking at good, like, $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 in a year, depending on your age. After a certain age also, both countries are going to be difficult for you to get insurance because they won't insure you after 65, 60, something like that. You'll have it's pretty much very difficult to get insurance. So in this case, in terms of healthcare, I would say the point goes to Turkey having public healthcare available at a low cost, as a private healthcare is a low cost as well. And even the public healthcare, if you have your residence permit, it's very cheap, like very, very cheap. If you want to access the public healthcare and you don't have, let's say, the health insurance, public healthcare insurance, you can still pay the public rate, which is like very, very low. Like it's like, private versus public, you're looking at like 10%. It's just like a token fee that you're giving essentially. Number 6 is education. So in Turkey, education is free of cost in terms of the public education. So when you have the, primary school, middle school, high school, these are all free of charge. So you don't pay anything for the public schools in Turkey. When it comes to university, the public universities are very nominal. The fees are quite nominal, so you're not paying exorbitant amounts. You're looking at, maybe like $2,000 a year, maybe even less than that, right? Depending on the university, right? So very nominal fees for foreigners. For locals, it's free. They have to write some exams and enter that, and it's free of cost. The thing with public schools in Turkey is that the medium of instruction is Turkish, and they have some additional classes of language, which they will have English lessons extra as an extra subject. Sometimes you can choose also other languages like German or French or Spanish or Arabic. So these are depending on the area, which school it is. If it's a nicer area, the schools are usually better, more well equipped. Again, that sort of research needs to be done on the ground. If you're looking to place your kids in a public school, then definitely you need to research the schools themselves. Go to the schools, talk to the parents there, talk to the get a tour, talk to the teachers there, get an idea of the schools, then only move. If you're looking to purchase property or rent something long term, then after doing the research, then you should go there. But that is definitely a plus point for Turkey. In UAE, the schools are all private, and the public schools are for the locals only. For expats, you're looking at private schools. These private schools are yearly 35,000 would be the dirhams, the AED, the local currency, which is like $10,000 approximately. Starting, right? So starting, like if you're looking at famous school brands there, international, the big ones, Shrifat, and some really big brands there, the top private schools, they are, of course, like they run into the tens of thousands of dollars. So so schooling is very pricey unless your job covers that. If you have a good paying job there, a good company, they cover for sometimes all the children, or sometimes up to a certain number of children, 2 or 3 kids. Sometimes there's a limit. Sometimes everyone's covered. So you need to really look into that. So that's one of the cons of living in UAE. The schooling is an issue. Now, number 7 is the laws in terms of residency status, citizenship status. What are the laws about that? How do we get access to those statuses or visas or residency or citizenship in these countries? Let's start with UAE. When I say UAE, I'm going to be focusing on Dubai mainly here because there's lots of states in UAE. And I'm just going to focus on Dubai and focus on the rules and regulations and the prices so that it's just easier to make comparisons and not, talk about other regions because the rules and regulations and the prices will differ. So we're just going to take the main city as an example. And in Turkey, the same thing. I'm going to choose the main 2 cities, which is Istanbul and Antalya, which is the top 2 destinations. And I'll talk about those two cities. So in UAE, there are various types of visas that you can get. So number 1, the easiest one that most common is the employment visa. So you just basically get a job, apply for a job, and the employer gives you the contract, and your visa is based on the contract, your job basically. As soon as the job is done, or you get let go, or you get fired or something, then you've lost the visa and you have to leave the country. The other option in UAE, in Dubai, is investor visa. So you have to basically establish a business and invest a certain amount of money into shares, and you need to invest that into a company, and that would give you eligibility for residence visa. Now there are certain things that we need to, there are a little bit technicalities there. So this sort of visa needs to be researched before you jump into that category. There's something else now in UAE. It's called remote work visa. Now, this remote work visa is eligible for employees who are based outside the UAE and they want to live in Dubai, and they can basically get a 1-year renewable visa. But there is a really huge requirement here, is that you need to provide a salary slip of minimum $5,000 per month. So if you're able to provide that, that's great. You can get this remote work visa. But if you cannot provide proof of employment with a contract, with pay slips from bank statements from last 3 months of $5,000 per month coming in as your employment salary, then you can forget about this option. If you're also a company owner as well, you need the same things. You need to show bank statements and show the incoming flow of that much money coming in each month consistently. Of course, there is the student visa. That one's simple. I won't get into that. There's cultural and special talents visa, which is really for really famous people and sports players and things like that. There's retirement visa, which I will just briefly touch upon, but essentially you need to invest $2 million into a property, 2 million dirhams into property, and that's a huge amount. So that's like $500,000 or something like that. So you're looking at a huge investment to get this visa, and this is a 5-year renewable visa, and you need to be 55 years or older to get that. So now it's not all bad news. Let me talk about the real estate visa, which is the easiest, and not the easiest, but let's say one of the easiest. Some people may debate there's a business visa option which may be easier, but the real estate visa, which requires an investment of 750,000 dirhams, it used to be 1 million, which is now roughly equal to $205,000 US dollars. So this will give you a real estate visa for 3 years. Again, this used to be 2 years before, so recently they have done a few changes and made it a bit easier. And this will give you a 3 years renewable visa. As long as you have the property, you can just renew that. So that is something you can get. One thing I need to tell you is that these properties for real estate visa, the property cannot be an off-plan property. It cannot be in construction. It should be completed 100%, and your name should be on the title deed. It should be paid off 100%. If you have a mortgage, then 50% of the mortgage should be paid off, and the other 50%, like you need, again, a letter from the company, the bank and so on, giving you the NOC, non-objection certificate. So there are some technicalities when it comes to mortgage, but in short, it needs to be paid off fully, or at least half of it if you have a mortgage in that case. Also, your kids can have access to that as well. So if you have children under 18, they can, in this case, actually, they can also be over 18. So let's say if you have a daughter who's not married, or if a son who is still studying, then in this case, you need to show proof of that, and you can get those for your kids as well. But below 18, there is no necessary extra proof is not required. You can just directly apply. Your spouse and kids can be eligible under this visa. There's also another category of residence visa, which is called the golden visa. This is a 10-year visa, which you need to invest 10 million dirhams, which is $3.6 million. And that will get you a 10-year renewable golden visa, essentially, program. The only difference is that it's 10 years renewability versus like 3 or 5. So that's the so that is basically, in short, the summary of the UAE visa programs that they have available currently. Now let's talk about Turkey. So Turkey's residence permit program, we'll start off with that, which has recently been put at a cap of $50,000 property in smaller cities, $75,000 in larger cities. Now, let me just, tell you right now that, a lot of people, they do come and they think that they can get something really cheap. But just to be, just as a frank advice, you're looking at roughly at, minimum $100,000 to get something reasonable, to get something which has, a good potential in terms of getting an increase in property, capital appreciation, getting good, rental returns on it, and basically it being a safe property investment. So anything below that, I'm telling people, you might as well just wait and keep saving money until you can reach that 100K, 125K mark. In Istanbul, basically you're looking at even 150,000. In Antalya, you might, like, let's say 100, 125 can get you started. In Istanbul, you will need like 150 will be a decent mark to get started with. So that is for Turkey's residence permit program, which will give you essentially in the first, when you go to apply, you will need your title deed, and you and your spouse and then kids as well can get this residence permit, and they can basically get 1 year initially, or sometimes even 2 years, the officer, depending on the officer's discretion. And then after the second time when you renew it, it's usually 2 years or even 3 years, and you can just keep renewing that every few years as needed. So in this case, I would say that also Turkey has a citizenship option. So that has been increased recently in June to $400,000. Before it was $250,000, now it's $400,000. And this can be multiple properties or one property, depending on how you want to play that. You can get multiple apartments, or you can get a single villa, for example, and or a land, and that would cover the entire requirement of citizenship. So this point goes to Turkey, I would say, because their requirements are much more easier and lower in terms of entry requirements, and you also have the citizenship option in Turkey. So number 8 is cost of living or pricing. So let's talk about cost of living in both countries. So UAE and Turkey. So Turkey is the easiest option in this case. Obviously, it's much cheaper, easily 50% or more cheaper. So for example, let's talk about rent. Rent in Turkey for 2 or 3 bedroom, affordable 2 or 3 bedroom, decent, you can get it for $500 to $700 a month. This is basically even considering the amount how much the rent has increased recently. Now in UAE, for the same kind of same size, you're looking at about $1,000 to $1,500. So that is double basically of the Turkish rent. Even other things, if you look at cost of food, tourism, hotels, everything basically, apart from probably gas, petrol. That's the only thing which will be cheaper in UAE. Even that has increased in UAE recently, but that would be cheaper. But other than that, everything else is going to be a lot more costlier. Definitely eating out, restaurants, things like that are way cheaper in Turkey. And like fancy places you can go, and you still won't be able to spend the same as a regular place in UAE. So cost of living definitely the point goes to Turkey in this case. Now let's look at also within pricing and cost of living is the real estate market. So let's compare the two of them, right? So in UAE, for example, an apartment, let's say of 2 or 3 bedroom apartment, right? You're looking at anywhere between 600,000 to 650,000 dirhams, 1 to 1.3 million dirhams, which is roughly $175,000, right? And the cheapest apartment, for example, in Dubai, in Dubizzle, I've checked Dubizzle, and the cheapest one was 450,000, something like that. So, you definitely, if you were looking for something decent, then that those were starting at roughly around 650. So that's why I picked that mark. And if you look at Turkey, as I mentioned to you, Turkey, you're looking at roughly $125,000 for a 2 or 3 bedroom in Antalya, and then 150 starting from for Istanbul. So there is a difference, a decent difference there in terms of property prices. For villas in Turkey, you're looking at roughly, between 300,000 is the really starting minimum, but more average will be like, 400 in that range, basically in Antalya, Alanya, these kind of regions, Mediterranean side. Istanbul, you're looking at minimum like, 350, $375,000. And the average will be more like 500, something like that, 500, so in that range, 550, 600,000. So the villas are more pricier in Istanbul, obviously. Now let's take a look at UAE villas. So UAE villas, when you look at just Dubizzle and see the villas there, so you can see they are like, 1.6 million, $1.5 million, 1.4 million. So all of them are like 6 million dirhams, 5 million dirhams, 5 million, 7 million. So these are like the first page. So you can roughly see they are within above $1 million, like definitely. Not to say that the quality of these villas are really good though. You can see the construction quality is beautiful. Like they have really done an incredible job, and I'm going to give them that. Like these villas look really nice and they are expensive, but they are really beautiful at the same time. In Istanbul, you've got a variety. It's like a jungle kind of, you've got different things going on. Some of the listings are even like not real. So you have to be careful. So roughly I can tell you, I have told you already the prices in Istanbul and Antalya. So you're looking at anywhere between 300 to, upwards, right? So up to a million, for 1 million, you can get like mansions essentially. The biggest villas in town, you're looking at $1.5 million, $2 million, right? So these are going to be the really fancy places. But more average places are going to be like, $500,000 basically. You can get something pretty decent. And if you build your own villa, you can check out the link above here. Talks about building the villas, and you can see what that would look like and how much it costs. So last but not least, number 9, I want to talk about ROI, return on investment, both in terms of your rental ROI and also your capital appreciation on the property. So let's say you're buying a property and you're putting it on a long-term rental. I'm not talking about short-term Airbnb stuff, just a regular long-term tenant. So here, definitely UAE is taking the lead. You're looking at, easily 4 to 5% rental returns net. In Turkey, you're going to get more like, 3%, right? Maybe 4 if you're lucky, right? So definitely you cannot reach like, that much high in terms of rental returns in Turkey. In UAE, you've got much more promising advantage there for sure. By the way, UAE people, the agents there will claim 7%, 8%. This is like not true. You can talk to people who are living in UAE who have experience in the real estate market. I have spoken to people there, and they have confirmed that this is not true at the moment. They're looking at roughly 4, maybe 5% net after you have paid all expenses. Now here, UAE will take the lead. Rental returns, okay, right? 5%, you will get that, right? In Turkey, 3%, maybe 4, right? But in terms of capital appreciation, Turkey is boasting the 30%, rate, and in terms of 30% by who? Let's have a look at that. So this is claimed by not just this is claimed by the Knight Frank Global House Price Index, which is tracking the movement of average residential prices across 56 countries worldwide. Turkey has shown the highest rate of annual price growth in the year up till the after quarter 1 of 2022. In terms of, not talking in Turkish lira terms, by the way, we're talking in hard currency in US dollar terms. So real values, not nominal price growth. We're talking about real price adjusted for inflation. You're looking at Turkey has been rated number 1 from 56 countries at 30.3%, right? So that is extremely high. Number 2 was Czech Republic. Number 3 was Slovakia. Then it was, Latvia. And then it was United States, right? Canada before United States. Canada, United States, Hungary, Iceland. These countries were next, but these were all way below. These were like at 11, 10%. So Turkey has been leading by far margin, 30% incredible growth, and we have seen this, with our clients as well. Whoever has purchased in the last few years, in the last 2-3 years, has seen incredible growth. They have doubled their money by far. And they are basically, in a very good position now. And they're so happy that they made that investment. Now, I want to also point to your other question. So what's going to happen in the future, right? So we're saying, oh, it's gone a lot. Now, the dilemma is that the prices are so high. What do we do? I mean, we've already, missed the boat. So let me tell you now what is a report from Mansion Global, Who is Mansion Global? It's a award-winning, portal, online content portal for the global real estate market, owned by Barron's Group, who is a sister publication to Wall Street Journal. So these guys are credible people to listen to. They're just not a random blog or something like that. So these are credible writers talking about that. And there has been an article recently published in July 1st of 2022, and talking about Turkey's property market and how it maintains a stable forecast. Even in spite of all the skyrocketing costs, construction costs are rising, and I've talked about that. But in spite of that, Turkey is doing incredibly well in terms of real estate capital appreciation. So according to the article, despite skyrocketing prices, analysts are saying there's little risk of a housing bubble in Turkey, right? Because of the soaring inflation, actually, people would think that, oh, it's getting unstable, but this is pushing the Turkish citizens to invest in property as a hedge against inflation, and specifically with luxury properties and becoming high in demand as well, right? So both local buyers and also overseas clients that are interested in Turkey's golden visa programs, which I mentioned earlier, residence permit and also citizenship. These are creating a lot of demand in Turkey, and a lot of the high-end homes. So villas are the ones that are really increasing much more higher, but even apartments are getting considerable growth in appreciation. So one thing is that we will see people are talking about, some clients are saying that, oh, the property, prices, the lira is going down. What's going to happen if I buy? It's unstable. But in Turkey, according to this article as well, and as we have kept saying, that the house prices are unofficially tied to the dollar. So when they, mentally speaking, owners, when they're buying, selling property, yes, they are selling it eventually in Turkish liras. The final exchange is in Turkish lira, but the prices are all tied to euros in the Mediterranean region, and in Istanbul is tied to the dollar, essentially. So you're looking at hard currency. I mean, as long as you're dealing with euro and dollar are pretty much the same right now. So you're dealing with these hard currencies mainly. The property prices are increasing with the dollar currency and with the euro currency and dollar currency, not with, of course, in lira. Forget about the lira right now. It's basically you're appreciating in dollars year over year with considerable, like 25-30% conservatively, I'm saying here. So within, like I said, I have seen our clients that have basically doubled their money in a couple of years easily. So one thing that's happening is that construction costs have gone up, right? Because of the supply chain issues that have happened in the pandemic. And this has caused the construction materials to go really high, expensive because of, all the issues of supply chain. Now, this has caused the new home prices to be even higher. And, this has also caused a shortage in supply. So the construction slowed down, and this created a shortage in supply. And because of this, the prices there's still a very short supply. And according to, as the article says, there's a stable forecast for demand. So sales are increasing, people are buying, even though the prices are going up for the real estate. There is little risk of bubble, and there are no signs of overall property overvaluation in Istanbul's main districts, neither in popular resorts at the Anatolian coast. So the other interesting thing I would like to mention about Turkish property market is that Turkish property market has a very low leverage. So what does that mean is that only 20% of the home buyers are using loans to buy property. So mainly it's cash buyers, 80% are cash buyers. And even if they are taking loans or mortgages, they are putting down typically 50% a down payment. So this is unlike the North American markets, European markets, where the down payment is like 10%, 15, 20%, right? In some cases even 5%. So this is unlike that. This is like a serious thing. People are putting down 50% of the money and then taking a loan. In most cases, 80% of the time, they're just buying directly cash. So this is a very good point, which reduces the risk, according to the article, reduces the risk of creating a market bubble, right? So that is another positive thing about the Turkish property market. Now, enough of, talking about the Turkish property market being great. UAE, Dubai property market is also doing very well right now. They have had the highest number of sales in the month of July in the last 12 years. And apparently the biggest property sale of some big, huge mansion by a mystery buyer has been also purchased by, in this previous month. So the property sales are increasing. It's very going on a high right now. The market is doing very well in UAE as well. So when it comes to the overall, when you look at the overall picture, yes, rental returns in Turkey are less by a couple percentages, right? 3% versus in UAE 5. But when you look at capital appreciation in UAE, you're looking at about 17%, right? By this article reported in Zawiya. But you're in Turkey, you're looking at easily 30% at the moment. At least it has been like for the last 2-3 years, like consistently. So definitely, I would say, by far, Turkey, it looks like it is the safer choice here when it comes to investing your money in real estate overall. And even if you look at the overall picture of living and there, the only downsides we saw was language and jobs. So these can be overcome, of course, as I mentioned. These can be overcome. So if you can overcome these, then you should definitely choose Turkey. Otherwise, you can go to Dubai for jobs, for living. It's great, but for long-term retirement, for long-term living, for a place that you can call home for a very long time, permanently, essentially, Turkey would be my recommendation to you. Thank you. This is Moaz Haq from Think Turkey. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment below what your thoughts are. If you are living in the UAE, please tell me more about your situation. Tell me if I have said something which is incorrect. Please share with the viewers so that we may all be enlightened.